All right. So why don't you tell me your name, a little bit about yourself, what brokerage you're with?
Yeah, absolutely. I am Cyrus McCormick of MMB Realty Group. So Mutry, Murphy, and Bergen Realty Group is the full name,
Okay.
the government name. But I've been an agent with them since 2021.
Okay.
Got into the business in 2018
Nice.
and then switched over there mid-COVID.
All right. Yeah. And
The smartest time.
yeah, it's a perfect time to make the switch.
Yeah, the life changes is during a pandemic.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's always fun. But yeah, no, we're a smaller brokerage, about 15 agents or so. But loving what I do, loving where I do it at. So
Yeah, no, and I think there's something to be said about the smaller brokerages. It's easy to kind of get lost in the mix. I feel like at a big one, but
yeah.
especially MMB. I mean, everyone that I've met so far has been great, and you guys almost have like a family feel.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest things that keep me there is because it is like a family, because I mean, I've been at bigger brokerages before.
I was going to say,
yeah, and
the start
early one,
right?
Yeah. I was with two bigger, more legacy brokers to start. And, as a newer, smaller agent, I felt like a tiny fish in an ocean.
Yeah.
So now being at where I'm at now, more mature in the business, having that family closeness is nice because like real estate can be a cutthroat business. Yeah, but here where we're at is it's not that. Like I want to see them succeed as much as I want to succeed. So like we kind of really feed off each other. So
yeah, no, that's perfect. I mean, what first drew you to real estate?
Yeah, so when I first got started, it was an interest in like an investing side of things.
Oh, okay.
So I really wanted to go in and try to be like this big mogul.
Yeah.
So I just always had interest in the investing side of stuff. So, that's kind of what got me in first. So before I even got my license, I was, going to some of the investor events, trying to find, information about that.
Okay.
But the more that I dug into that, I realized like I probably should get a little bit more of an understanding of the more real estate side of things as opposed to just strictly investing. So I was like, let me go ahead and get my license and see where things go. And
yeah.
Quickly realized like, oh, this is my lane as of right now. Like I love working with the people. So
okay.
Yeah, it quickly went from, wanting to be in and just invest to quickly like, oh no, this agent life is my goal, my speed.
It's almost like the total opposite. Whereas you don't really wouldn't really have much to do with, helping people buy a house necessarily as you would yourself just investing into doing a total 180 and having it all to do with the people.
Right.
And not really, really much focus on you investing yourself.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I mean, what would you say has kept you passionate about real estate since, you made that switch to decide from going from the investing mindset to working with buyers to help them find a home?
I'll say
sellers.
The impact.
Yeah.
It's the impact that you truly have with the buyers and sellers. Like you're helping someone through one of the most potentially stressful or difficult situations that they may go through. And, to me, to play a role in someone achieving a lifelong goal of buying a house. Like there's not many things you can do in life to match that feeling, in my opinion.
That's a good point.
To really play a role in that, like it's addicting.
Yeah, you're literally helping people achieve the American dream.
100%
on a home. Yeah. No, that's awesome. I mean, how would you say, so I know you started before COVID. Has there really been any way that your approach to working with buyers has changed over the years, especially with the pandemic happening? And then, even just the way that the market's been changing since you started?
Yeah. I think for me, it's been more of an emphasis on I'll say the development of a buyer up front.
Yeah.
So I've always had buyer consultations with people up front, but now, especially with the uncertainty of what COVID brought, I really make sure that we're going to talk about the different things that we may experience throughout the process.
Okay.
So preparing them for potential pitfalls, preparing them for any hurdles or obstacles we may face.
Okay.
So in my head, if we tackle those things up front, it's much easier to deal with when they happen.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's, I would have to probably agree with you. It's better to take care of things on the front end than deal with them coming up on the back.
Right.
Yeah. So let's say I'm a buyer sitting down with you, like what is the process that I would go through with you, lending aside just real estate agent to, potential client, or even if I'm a seller.
Right. So the first thing I want to do is build some sort of relationship.
Yeah.
Because one, I'll say this, when I first started working in real estate, I work with just anybody.
Yeah.
You call me, I'm showing up. You show up to my office, we're sitting down, I'm trying to.
That's kind of what it takes when you start.
Yeah, like I just don't expect anything. But now I'm at the point in life where I don't just work with anybody who calls me.
Okay.
So I am a little bit more selective than what I used to be. So part of what I do up front is a little bit of matchmaking. Are we going to be a good fit together? So that first 10, 15 minutes or so, it's just talking.
Okay.
Trying to get a little bit of who you are, who I am, what I offer, and do we see ourselves working with each other? So that's kind of a big part of that, first couple minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
Just kind of just building that rapport. Because especially if it's not a direct referral.
Yeah.
If it's someone I don't know at all, like we need to have that.
Yeah.
Because right now there's no trust, there's no nothing.
Yeah.
So we kind of have to build that.
And you guys will be spending a lot of time together. Oh, hopefully not a lot, but it's possible it'll take a good amount of time.
We may get lucky and find something quick, but we could be working for months and months at a time.
Yeah, and at the very least, roughly 60 days you'll be spending with.
At minimum.
Yeah.
At minimum 60 days.
Yeah.
So, part of that is just that fact finding and that relationship building. But, after we get through that, it's finding out where you're at right now.
Yeah.
And putting a plan in place to get you where you want to be.
Gotcha.
Because as you know, in the lending field, some people are ready right away.
Yep.
And some folks, we need to do some work and put a plan in place to get them ready.
Certainly, yeah. I think a big thing with that is probably monthly payment, at least from where I see it. Because a lot of people going into it don't really know what to expect as far as a monthly payment goes. I mean, if you go on Zillow, it'll give you an estimated monthly payment, but then if you were to expand that accounts for what the house is listed at, not what the actual offer price would have to be. And a lot of the times is with 20% down, which is giving you an inaccurate payment. Because I'd say probably 20% or less of the clients that I have, especially first-time buyers, are putting 20% down. So I'd say monthly payment is probably a big driver in that. And then, once we form our comfortability around monthly payment is kind of when it can get turned over to you to be able to find certain houses that, whether it's the price or taxes or both, that kind of fit into that comfortability for a client.
And some of that conversation up front is setting expectations.
Yeah.
Because again, if we don't set those expectations up front, they may have these grand dreams in mind that their budget doesn't fit.
Yep.
So setting the scene and really figuring out, what you want, what your needs versus your wants, and then where does that fit in relationship to your budget, and where does that fit into relationship with the market. So it's kind of just a combination of all those things, getting them ready, getting them prepared, and, truly handing them off to the next step, which is figuring out that financing piece of things.
And what would you say to someone who's waiting on the sidelines for either rates to drop or for prices to go down, or just isn't even sure if they're, ready to buy a home or if they should buy a home?
Yeah. One thing I always say is today's price is today's price.
Yeah.
Things will change. Things will fluctuate. However, if you wait on the sidelines, you may be waiting forever.
Yeah.
Because we're at a point now where we're at pretty much historical averages when it comes to interest rates.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yes, we're higher than the historical lows of a couple years ago, but we probably will never see those twos.
One thing I can say is, when I started in the business a little over 5 years ago, I have only seen prices increase and I have only seen rates generally increase. They're on a bit of a dip now, but even if you were to have a 7% rate or even an 8% rate, if you were to buy 5 years ago, you'd still have a lower monthly payment than someone who bought now at a 6%.
Right.
Just because of the price.
Yeah. And one thing I always talk about is what their situation is now. You're renting. Okay. Well, you're essentially paying 100% interest.
Yeah. Yeah. I say the same thing.
Yeah. Because you're paying into something that you're not going to get a return on. Yes, you have a roof over your head, but that's not a secure thing because they can say, hey, I'm selling a house.
Yep. Yeah. I have a client right now who they live in a double. They downsized to an apartment so that they didn't have to take care of a house. And then the landlord just said that her daughter is moving back in from town and they need to boot them out of the unit.
Yep.
So now they're looking to buy a house again.
Yeah. So it's really, again, setting those expectations. And so you are concerned about pricing and interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
I always say this, there's just always a chance that the market increases.
Yeah.
The health of the market increases and interest rate gets better.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a landlord that's going to lower rent because the market is better.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just not going to happen. Landlords aren't decreasing rent. It doesn't happen. So you're worried about interest rates and prices of house at the same time. Rental rates are just steadily increasing.
Yeah.
It's getting higher and higher and higher. And value, and a lot of times, are getting lower and lower and lower.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. People, when they do a mortgage application, they enter what they're paying monthly for rent. And I remember when I started, 600 to 1,000 was the norm, and now it's very rare for me to see something below 1,500 a month for rent.
Yeah.
So you're right, it definitely is going up. And if you're able to get 1,500 or 2,000 a month for rent, and you're a landlord, you're an investor, using a business mind, why would you ever lower your rent?
It wouldn't make any sense to. So I always tell people, like, ownership is always an option. It's just you have to get off of the sidelines. You have to get out of the narrow mindset of just looking strictly at interest rate and looking strictly at price.
Yeah.
Because again, what's your budget at the end of the day? Because if we can find you a house, interest rate aside, that fits within your price parameters, that matches your needs from a housing standpoint, what's stopping you from doing it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And most people don't really have an answer because, you're right. If I can find a house that matches what I need, that fits into my budget, the interest rate, it almost is, it doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I also have a lot of people who, that I've talked to who are afraid to just start the process. I mean, buying a house is certainly a big deal. I mean, I tell people it's probably the biggest commitment and purchase that you'll make in your entire life. But there's no way to know until you know. And it's really not scary. A handful of documents, a credit pull, which there's usually a lot of hesitation around, but I mean, a mortgage credit inquiry is going to hit your credit a lot less than anything else, car, credit card, personal loan, etc. On average, it's roughly like an 8-point hit to your score. And usually within 6 to 12 months, it's totally recovered. So I really try to encourage anyone who's on the fence to just hop over it and take a look, and I'm not a pushy salesman. You're not a pushy salesman. We're not going to make you buy a house. We just want you to be able to find out what your options are to be able to make the best informed decision.
Yeah, and that's one thing I tell my buyers all the time is I'm never going to tell you how to spend your money.
Yeah.
It's not mine. So I can't tell you what to do with it, but what I can do is give you the information to make the best decision for yourself.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of buyers just have a preconceived notion that the process is difficult, that it's daunting, that it's challenging, and like, come listen and see what the process actually is. It's a lot more simple than what people think it may be.
Yeah, certainly. And who you work with is really important. I mean, I've seen people that came from other lenders that had a terrible experience that kind of made them hesitant with me. And I've also seen people come, from another agent maybe that I've talked to, and I'm sure you've probably seen the same, that they kind of feel like they've been pushed into something or that they just weren't necessarily a priority. And I mean, I can speak on the deals that we've had together. I mean, you're certainly someone that I feel comfortable referring a client to just because, we kind of operate in a similar way and that nothing is forced. And the client's best interest is always what's important, because if we make the client happy, they'll send their friends and family to us, and we can, continue spreading the love and providing great service.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it boils down to at the end of the day. Working with someone that you can trust and someone that can get the job done for you.
Yeah.
Because if I was in this business for me, I wouldn't succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, could I probably make a living by just pushing my own interests? I'm sure.
Yeah.
But for me, I couldn't sleep at night doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I need to make sure that my number one priority is making sure that my clients are satisfied at the end of the day. Am I doing everything in my power to make sure that your needs are being met above my own?
Yeah.
So that's what my sole focus is as an agent, is making sure I work every single day for the benefit of my client and not my own. And it makes my life much more enjoyable and it makes it a lot easier.
Certainly. And I mean, I could see, how some people may just go into it with strictly a business mindset and not really, look at it this way. But I mean, we're talking people that are trusting the biggest decision of their lives with us. And that certainly means a lot to me. It's easy to, kind of lose sight of that sometimes. But at the end of the day, people are putting all of their trust into you and I to help them, buy their house, which I don't take lightly. And I know that you don't.
Yeah, I can't speak from a lender standpoint, but I mean, I know there's over 3,000 agents in this area. I'm assuming lender-wise, there's a lot of lenders as well. So it's honestly a privilege for someone to call me and say they want to work with me and that they're trusting me with this process. I don't take that lightly.
Yeah.
Someone is spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a house. That is a lot of pressure. It's a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that I'm always putting my best foot forward and trusting, my abilities to serve them to the best of mine. And unfortunately, there's bad lenders, there's bad agents, and it does hurt our name and our reputation as a whole from a macro level.
Yeah.
But it's our job when we do get our hands on these people that we make sure we're educating them and guiding them.
Exactly. Fix it. kind of heal up their past experience and show them that there is a better side to,
100%.
this process.
Yeah, I try to make this process as light as possible, make it as easy as possible. Like for me, one of the things I always say is like, look, I got big shoulders and I carry the burden of a transaction, so you don't have to.
Yeah.
I deal with the stresses and the stuff that all transactions will see for the most part.
Oh, yeah.
I make sure that for you, you have what you need and I'll deal with the rest.
And there is a lot of behind the scenes stuff that people don't really realize that goes on. One thing I know with, us working together is that sometimes we can kind of take care of those things before it even becomes a problem for our other client, which I think is, a good spot to kind of talk about why it's so important to have an agent and lender who have a good relationship together, just because we can make things so much easier for you. It's not that we're, it's a scheme that one's making money off of the other or something. Like, it truly does make a difference when you have someone who is connected to their agent or an agent who's connected to their lender, because just the communication is so much easier. And then, the client isn't really like a middleman between you and I trying to relay information from one party to another.
100%. Because like I can be the best agent in the world, but I couldn't do a whole transaction by myself.
Yeah.
I can't get it done without the lender. I can't get it done without the attorney, the title company. So like there has to be a team effort to get this done, and having open lines of communication, especially between agent and lender, is a necessity.
Yeah, no, certainly. And I'm glad that you mentioned the attorney too, just because I've had some people who decided to use a family friend attorney who maybe didn't specialize in real estate and turns into a nightmare. So
I had that issue recently. It's yes, any attorney can handle the transaction, but they're not doing this day in and day out.
Yeah,
it can make things a little bit more difficult.
It's a very delicate way to put it.
Yeah, I just try to put it nicer. Like, yeah, I know you want to support your people. I know you want to be able to work with those, but if you're trusting, again, multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars in the hands of someone else who doesn't do this for a living. So I just want to make sure that they're capable of getting the job done in a reasonable timeline.
Yeah, and I've also had some people use family friends as agents, and I haven't seen that go great either sometimes. So I think it's certainly important to kind of take the advice of the professionals that you are aligned with as far as recommendations for other facets of the home buying process goes. Just because we do this every single day, we know who's going to do the job right and who may not. So if there's anything I could drive home to people, it's just take the recommendation of the person that you're working with and maybe give something else a shot, just to see what else there is out there for options.
Yeah, because like I've had close friends or relatives not use me as agents.
Yeah,
and they came to me and talked about it. I said, look, I know I can get the job done.
Yeah,
I'm
need to say I told you so.
Yeah, and I'm like I'm sad that it didn't go the way that you intended it to go.
Yeah,
but
and a lot of the times I feel like the hesitation, because I've had the same thing. Friends. I haven't had, luckily, any family that didn't use me, but some friends that decided to use other lenders just because I don't know if they didn't want me to see their financials or know personal details. But I mean, none of that's getting shared. I will get penalized under law for sharing that.
Right.
So it's not even about that. And there's also no judgment. I mean, we've all seen things and we've all, maybe even experienced things ourselves. We've been through it. It's a matter of seeing where you are now. And, if it's in a tough spot, how can we get you to where it's got to be? And no one's going to know about it.
And I don't care
about
any of that stuff. Like, I have no idea. I don't care how much money you have in the bank.
Yeah.
I don't care how much you make in your check. My conversation between me and the lender is, what does a pre-approval look like?
Yeah.
I've never had a conversation with you about how much a client makes.
No, because it does
none of my business.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, all I need to know is what can they afford from a pre-approval standpoint, and then it's up to me and the buyer to figure out where they want to be comfort-wise.
Yeah.
Like I try to tell people, like, I don't even get those personal details.
Yeah, no, you don't. Yeah, you really don't see anything. If anything, the only thing that you have to know is how much money someone has to work with for purposes of putting a down payment down or a deposit.
That's it. Like, we need to know a little bit how much you got in the bank right now from a deposit standpoint. You want to put $7,000 down? Cool. You have that in the bank on hand right now? Yes. No. Okay. We got to change those numbers. Yeah. Other than that, I don't need to know the personal private information. And up front, I always say, this is a team effort again.
Yeah.
When we're talking about the financial side of stuff, I'm going to direct that conversation to the professional in that field.
Yeah.
I am licensed as a real estate agent. A licensed real estate salesperson is my legal title. So that is the lane that I stay in. If this is a legal side, I'm going to direct you to the attorney because they're the professional in the team.
Yeah, I think that I'm really glad that you mentioned staying in your lane, because I do think it's important. There's obviously some people who maybe miss some things. At least, I've noticed from the lending side. So sometimes it is, probably important to ask about some things. Like, I mean, I guess the most common time where I say it's fine if someone doesn't necessarily stay in their lane is, if you're asking about different loan programs, if your client could switch to conventional on something that they're only FHA and maybe they're only taking conventional offers, then I would understand it. But, I would never tell a real estate agent how to do their job. And I also certainly can't tell an attorney how to do their job. And also, sometimes people ask me about tax implications about doing certain things. I can't legally answer that. I always have to refer that to the tax professional.
Again, I don't want to be sued at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
I want to help you as my client, but I also enjoy what I do in the lifestyle that I live.
Yeah, and you'd never want to give incorrect advice of something.
And again, I have no problem saying I don't know.
Yeah, no, same here.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you false information just so I have an answer. Like if someone asks me a lending question and I'm like, I don't know. Let's call Nate. Let's figure out the answer. If I'm not just going to, give you false stuff just for the sake of doing it.
Yeah, no, and I know some people that do just give an answer, and I've had to correct them on it via the client. So it gets a little weird.
Yeah, like again, I don't want to never be in a position where I'm like, dang, I had something that I knew was wrong, and now my reputation takes a little bit of a hit, or I just look like less of the professional in the eyes of the client.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, what would you say is the most understood part of the home buying process from where you sit?
You said most understood?
Yeah, the most misunderstood part of the home buying process. When you have someone who's, I mean, I guess a seller would probably have a little bit of an idea, but let's say a first time buyer. I mean, what do you think is probably the most misunderstood?
I'll say one of the questions or one of the hurdles that we always have to clear is the listing price aspect of things.
Yep.
So for example, I'm using an actual example that just happened yesterday.
Okay.
We put an offer on a house. It was listed at $285,000. Comps are showing much higher than that.
Okay.
So they have an issue offering $40,000, $50,000 over asking just because the listing price is what it is. So it's explaining that, some agents use this as a marketing price to get people into the door.
Yeah.
And, just explaining that it's not the listing price that determines the price. We use the comps. We let the market decide what the value of the house is as opposed to strictly going off what that listing price is.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess break it down a little bit for me as if I'm, one of your first time buyers. So, I mean, anytime I see a house on Zillow or, the MLS search that you set me up with, sometimes just because it's listed at that list price doesn't mean that's what they're looking for.
I always say don't fall in love with the listing price.
Yeah.
Because again, there's plenty of examples where something was listed at a certain number and went much higher.
Yeah. And
it's not saying it's going to happen every single time, but I say don't fall in love with that listing price. Let's go take a look at it. And then if there is interest, we'll take a look and see what those comps are showing. And at that point, that's what we use to base our decision. The past sales, the current houses that are similar in that area, that's going to determine that market value of the price.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I think it's a really important part of educating people because, when they hear stories of things going $50,000, $60,000 over asking, a lot of the times on the lending side, that house is appraising for that. They're not going crazy and just, throwing a ton of cash. Some people are, but the majority aren't. That house is actually worth that. And it's just being listed low to get you, the buyer, and you fall in love with it. And hopefully there's other buyers who fell in love with it in the sellers and the seller agent's eyes that want to drive up that price. Because, at the end of the day, you could speak to this when you're representing a seller, you have their best interest in mind too. You want to get them the most for their house,
Yeah. And I think sometimes people think because they're going over asking, they're buying the house for more than what it's worth.
Yeah.
So just what you spoke to, or they're overpaying for something. Like you're not overpaying because even at the end of the day, you do have that appraisal.
Yeah.
Well, at least when you're dealing with a lender.
Yep.
You do have that appraisal. It's just truly going to set the value of the house.
And I always kind of say, even if the house does underappraise, a house is really worth what you're willing to pay for it to an extent, there are some cases where, it does underappraise and, as long as the education is done on the front end, like you've told the client, look, the comps aren't really supporting this price, the client still wants to get the house no matter what.
Right.
A lot of the times I've had deals under appraise and it's situations like that where someone went way over asking just to get the house and they don't care. They're fine with it because at the end of the day, they got the house that they found.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, for the right person, they plan on spending the next 20 years in this house.
Yeah.
Overpaying by a couple thousand.
Yeah.
Over the span of the next 20 years, it's not going to make that much of a difference.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you got to come out of pocket some more up front to make it work. So that definitely doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
But for someone who plans on being in the house for a long period of time and is okay because they're getting exactly what they need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not the biggest deal.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. What would you say is one thing that could make or break an offer? Just, I mean, beyond the price aside, what do you think is a big thing that can make or break an offer?
It's not an actual answer that I'm going to give.
Okay.
It's not something that's even on the contract.
Yeah.
I think the relationship that the agent builds with the other agent.
Okay. Yeah.
As opposed to just sending out a contract through email and letting it go. Are you actually getting on the phone to talk to that person?
No.
Are you talking the offer up? Have you communicated from the time that you saw the house and up to the point that you submit the contract?
Mm-hmm.
Because again, if you talk to them after the fact, talked about how much your client loved the house, you're setting an impression. They're remembering you. They're remembering your name. So when you come back and submit that offer, having another conversation, those things start to actually make a difference.
Yeah,
Because again,
a familiarity
Yeah.
from the first time that
yeah, because it's not just I'm not just sending a blind contract to you. I'm making this actual effort to build this relationship, and especially if you've done transactions with them before, your past relationship as an agent helps your current clients.
I was just gonna. I mean, I had a question that I was gonna ask you is what, old school, I guess, tactic or old school practice still translates to today, but I think you kind of just
Picking up the phone.
Yeah, picking up the phone and knowing the other agent on the other side certainly makes a difference. And even, I mean, knowing agents, across the area, that's why I think an experienced agent is a great asset, just because you are able to get maybe a little bit more information or at least a feel from someone who's comfortable talking to you than what would just be in the listing.
Yeah, 100%. Because if I call up front before offers are even due or reviewed, and I can get a sense of what the seller's motivation is,
Yeah.
that's not going to be on the MLS.
Mm.
They're not going to tell me that they're going through a divorce, they got to get this sold, or whatever it is that they tell me. So if I know that they are getting a divorce and yada yada, okay, I know time is important.
Yeah, that or if they're like contingent on their sale and trying to buy their next home, they may want to express timeline too.
Yeah, and you can't get that just from MLS information. You got to pick up the phone and get that. And so if I get something that I can take to my buyer and say, hey, someone is, getting ready to, split. We realize like they are really desperate for a sale.
Yeah.
Now I have a little bit more that we can tweak our offer. So now, okay, we can be a little bit more flexible in the timeline if we know they need a quick close.
Yeah.
Or if they may need some time on the back end to find suitable housing, okay, we can be flexible on the closing date.
Mm-hmm.
So we can make it work. Do we need to do a rent back situation?
Yeah. Okay.
So we can do different things based on the information we get from that.
Now, if you see something when you're walking a client through a house that maybe needs some attention, like a possible repair or something, is that also something that you're taking into account?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. I feel like I wouldn't be doing my job as an agent if I'm not pointing out what we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying like we see this, and this, you can't buy the house, but we have to be mindful of what we're seeing.
Yeah.
So again, if someone's open to doing some cosmetic repairs, we see some drywall issues, okay, we're noting them, but it's not really going to be a big issue.
Yeah.
But we do need to make sure we're notating what we're seeing. Because again, if you start to see a pattern of certain things throughout the house, there may be more underlying issues.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So, I mean, I guess on that topic, home inspections, we've been seeing more of them.
God, man, I feel like it's hit or miss.
Yeah.
I feel like in the past year, there's definitely been more than the couple years previous, but I feel like it's still not to the same extent as when I first got in. I feel like in 2018, at least I can't comment anything before then.
Yeah.
It was much more prevalent, more offers than not just had home inspections, and it was just kind of the standard. Yeah, now it's definitely hit or miss.
Yeah, you're kind of right because it does. I mean, I definitely have been seeing more of them, but it also does seem to be a case by case basis. Because I mean, you could probably speak to this a little bit better than I can, but some houses seem extremely competitive, and then there's other houses that seem like they got no bites or anything going on.
Right. I say always try to get it if you can.
Yeah.
I'm not the one to ever recommend to go without a home inspection.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah,
because,
I
again,
wouldn't either, yeah.
you're spending a lot of money into this purchase. So you want this to have as much information as possible before you're truly locked into this transaction moving forward. Yes, a home inspection is not the end all be all. There's still going to be stuff that happens because you're a homeowner. Something will go wrong. It's not a matter of
That person's only spending a handful of hours in the house, whereas you're going to be living in it.
Yeah.
Spending most of your life in it.
Right. There's not a lot of certainties in life.
Mm-hmm.
One certainty is something will go wrong in your house at some point. Guaranteed. And a home inspection is not going to eliminate that aspect. But you want to make sure you're eliminating the big issues or doing as much as you can to eliminate the big ticket items up front.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, from the buyer side, have you seen usually appliances are included when you're going through a house with someone?
I see more often than not.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes
that I get a lot of.
Yeah, it depends. I'd say vacant houses, if they're not there, obviously they're not there. Or if you're in a house and they got some really, really high end,
okay, they might see
stoves or refrigerators, like, yeah, good luck. Yeah. But I say more often than not, they are included. Or again, at the end of the day, most stuff is still negotiable.
Yeah.
If you're coming in with an offer that's quite a bit over asking and you're really knocking their socks off, throw the washer and dryer in there. Because if the numbers are making sense for them, they're usually not going to balk over a washer and dryer being included. So, like,
have you ever sold or bought a house that was fully furnished? I feel like I'd never see that.
I have not.
Okay.
I've made the attempt before. I mean, we could get their offer, but they were using houses like an Airbnb. So, like, all that stuff, they were just keeping them included. And for the investor, they planned on trying to do the same thing with it, so it made sense. But we didn't get that on. So me personally, no. But we tried. We definitely tried.
It's interesting. I don't really know. I don't think I know anyone that has. I'm surprised that I haven't thought of asking that more often.
Yeah, I feel like in different markets, it's probably much more prevalent. Like, we look at New York City, for example, where they do a ton of apartments.
Yeah.
And
it probably sucks to move, appliances especially, but current floors. Exactly.
Yeah, so I would assume different markets, you would probably see that a lot more. Even more, just more rental stuff too, condos, townhouses. A little bit more prevalent.
Yeah.
Than that from a rental standpoint.
So, I mean, I know that, obviously we try to, as a team effort, try to make it as least stressful for the buyer. But how would you say that you kind of coach people to stay emotionally grounded when it's getting a little bit stressful on their search?
Yeah, I feel part of that, again, goes back to the prep up front. Knowing which areas of the transaction are the pressure points.
Yeah.
Knowing that the appraisal, if it's a tight one, can bring some of the stress. The searching and the negotiating, we know that can be some stressful parts of the transaction. Yeah. So kind of really prepping them ahead of time is really important. But when we're actually in the moment, for me, a lot of what I do is reminding them why they're doing this.
Yeah.
You came to me with a goal that you wanted to become a homeowner. So it is my job to make sure I get you to the finish line and remind you, even though we're in the thick of the stressful part, you're doing this for a reason. There's an end goal. We have a target date. Like, we're working towards that. And just to remind you, like, yes, this is some stressful things. But once we get past this, we only have a couple more things to do and we're home clear. So just reminding them their why.
Yeah.
And, their reasons for doing this.
There's certainly a light at the end of the tunnel.
100%.
And especially when you're working with, someone like you and someone like me. I mean, our goal is to make sure that you close on the house and that we can quell any problems that do come up.
Right.
I mean, we've had deals where issues did come up that were, out of our control, but I think we handled it great. And, anything that did happen on ended up closing. Well, even if there was a little bit of a delay or, some sticky parts of the transaction, I think what's important is to keep the end goal in mind of closing. And especially, with a company like Premium, I mean, one of the reasons I love working there is everyone from sales to the back office has the mindset of how can we get this deal run, which I think is certainly important because, stories that I've heard, I mean, I've never had the displeasure to work somewhere else other than premium, but stories that I've heard is a lot of the, bigger loan companies or even some of the banks. I mean, it's kind of sales versus operations where the underwriters are looking, how can we decline this loan? What's wrong with this?
There's there's some funding sources. I'm like, do you really want to even do more transactions? Because like you're putting every obstacle imaginable in front of us right now.
Yeah,
When it's not, this is not a multi-million-dollar house. This is a regular average house. Why are you putting this many hurdles and obstacles in the way?
And I would say to someone who's, in that position, who's going through a hard time with their lender, changes can still be made. As long as the sellers are okay with it, you can switch loan companies.
Sometimes it's necessary.
Yeah, sometimes we can transfer an appraisal depending on what the loan type is. Or if worst case, we'll order a new one, we'll get it rushed, and we'll be able to close it in no time. I mean, I've had deals that I've saved from that other lenders weren't able to do or willing to do, and we were able to get it done in 2 to 3 weeks. Not that that's preferred, because it is quite a head spin, but it's not easy, but it is something that can be done. So I think people knowing that option is out there, if they're faced with a problem or a hard time somewhere else, that that's something they could certainly do. And I think that translates to probably you as well. I'm sure you have people that come to you that were working elsewhere, or listed with someone else, and they end up coming to you, and you're able to provide a total 180 of an experience from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like for me, anytime I'm working with a client, whether buyer or seller, renter, landlord, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm going to battle for them. And from a lender standpoint, I want someone that's willing to go in and fight with me.
Yeah.
Not fight against me.
Yeah.
Like I want you to be able to go into the trenches and figure this out, because I'm a solution oriented person. So okay, listen, we have this issue. What can we do to fix it?
Yeah.
And if you can't, let me know, and we'll look at another option. But don't give me the runaround. And I feel like sometimes underwriters just take things into their own hands and really try to manipulate things when they don't really need to.
Yeah, I'd say sometimes an opinion that they have could certainly bleed into what should just be what it is.
Right.
Yeah,
taking opinion as fact, and but if you actually discuss the issue, it's actually not that big of an issue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or get another set of eyes on it or something. Yeah, that's it. I think it's important. I mean, what are you seeing in any trends particularly changing? As let's say pandemic started to now, any trends changing in priorities, whether it be location, size of house, or amenities? I mean, you probably had some more work from home people, so I feel like people were probably focusing on certain things a little bit more so than before they were spending most days at their house all day.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I feel like a lot of conversations I've had with particularly buyers lately is taxes.
Yeah.
With a lot of increases in the area lately, just a lot more focus on those tax numbers.
Yeah, I mean, it is a key player at your monthly payment.
Makes a huge difference.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I've been seeing a lot of more people, at least, and I can't speak for everybody, but at least in my clients, looking more at that number. So a lot of people more open to being back into the city as opposed to outside, just because we know what the tax numbers look like in certain areas.
There's a crazy difference between the suburbs and the city.
When I explain that to people, it's hard for them to comprehend how different those numbers. I mean, literally quadruple in certain areas.
No, seriously, you take a house in the city, let's say it's got $1,500 or $2,000 in taxes. You pick it up and plop it in the suburbs. You're probably looking at $5,000 to $6,000 a year in taxes.
And minimal.
Yeah.
And the tough part is when you're at a lower price point and still looking at those same taxes. So if you're in the suburbs looking around $200, $250, your taxes are almost as much as your actual principal and interest payment.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's like, do those numbers make sense for my budget?
Yeah, and I guess you got to also think about like what are you getting for paying those higher taxes versus what you would be at, if you were to be able to get lower taxes. And tax is also something that I think is a super important part to go over at the pre-approval. Everyone that I work with, I ask what areas they're thinking of shopping in, not because I necessarily need to know where they want to buy a house, but just because I want to know what kind of tax number I should be using.
Right.
So if someone is considering city and suburbs, I'll usually set up their pre-approval with suburb taxes. As we have a calculator that I issue pre-approvals on, so someone can, input lower taxes if they wanted to, but at least they have that higher starting number as a worst case scenario.
Yeah, I did a lunch and learn last week at a that hospital just with some of their employees there.
Nice. Yeah.
And one of the questions someone asked me was about taxes. Should I live in, I don't remember what she said. She said Amherst or Williamsville.
Okay.
Should I live in Williamsville even though they have higher taxes? It's like, well, it depends on what your personal situation is.
Yeah.
For someone, she was in her 60s, and it's just her and her husband, no kids. Someone for you, it depends what your motivations are.
Yeah.
Because your motivations are different than what someone in their 20s or 30s with a young family may be. You don't have kids. So you're not utilizing the school system, yet you're going to be paying these big school taxes.
Yeah.
As opposed to someone in the earlier stages of life, they're going to be utilizing the school system and utilizing those benefits. So does it make sense for your personal situation? So I'm not going to say, no, don't live there. However, just be mindful of the things you're going to be paying for and the benefits that you get from it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, if you don't have, if you like a house in Amherst and you like a house in Williamsville, you could just go with the one in Amherst if you don't care about Williamsville schools, and you can avoid the village tax, which is just another, number to get plopped on you.
Exactly. So like I always say, it depends on your motivations. And because again, you go outside the city, right? You are going to pay higher taxes, but you're going to get higher quality schools and drastically for the most part. I mean, you're going to get better road services. You're going to get your street plowed in a reasonable amount of time.
Yep.
A lot of times your water bill is cheaper once you get outside of the city as well. So like there are give and take. So it's just a matter of, like I really said, what your personal motivations are.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd have to agree with you. I think that's a great way to put it. What is something that you wish that lenders understood better about the agent's role during a deal?
Good question. Good question. I will say the importance of the timing of everything.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these offers, they have these due dates.
Yeah.
And, it could be on the market 5 days at most. Brand new listing, offers due Tuesday at 12. So sometimes we need to really move quickly to get that. So there's times when, you got to reach out to a lender. Hey, they're thinking about putting an offer in. Do these numbers line up with these taxes? And sometimes, depending on the lender you're with, it takes a little bit too long to get back.
Yeah.
Because in this market, things, as most lenders and stuff do know, things move quickly.
Yep.
But it's like, in order to do my job to the best of my ability, I need that lender to be on the same page as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly kind of how I saw myself against people who are 9-to-5 lenders as well.
Right.
Just because, if you think about it, when you're the average person who is working and looking for a house, you're probably not shopping for a house 9 to 5 while you're at work. It's more than likely going to be on the evenings and the weekends, which is when you're going to have questions, which is when you might need a speedy pre-approval to be able to make an offer with a deadline. Some of them are on Mondays. I think that's wild, but
it's a lot of Mondays.
Yeah, I know.
Mondays at noon, like,
ooh, they're not got as much time at all.
Nothing. But the thing that for me that's difficult sometimes is, there's been plenty of times when I said, Nate, it's 8:00. I know.
Yeah,
but their pre-approval is up to 250 right now, but they're looking at something. We need to get it to 280. What can we do?
Yeah.
And this needs to happen like now.
Exactly. And I mean, that's totally okay with me. I mean, I look at it this way. I'm usually at home at my laptop when I'm getting those calls.
Right.
You're in the field. So, it's nothing for me to be able to hop on a computer and, squeeze it a little bit more if they need to go up a little bit or, make any adjustments as needed.
Yeah. So like for me, that's just the biggest thing. It's just like being okay with, going that extra mile. Like I know this is outside of regular business hours, but we all know what we signed up for.
Yeah, exactly.
In this line of work.
So there's really no regular business hours in this line of work.
Nah, that's what people say. Like, do you work these hours? I said, there are no hours.
Yeah.
If my phone is off when you call me, that means I'm asleep.
Yep. And
other than that, my phone is going to be around me.
I say like one of the benefits of working in real estate is having a flexible schedule, but that really just means that you're able to kind of shift things to different sides because, I could have time open during the day to do something with my family, but that also means that I'll probably be on the computer at 7 or 8 at night catching up on what I wasn't able to do during the day.
So. Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of the conversation I have with my buyers and sellers. Like when we're first meeting, once we're locking in as, a working relationship, doing the paperwork and all that good stuff, I'll say, hey, look, I do this full time, but at 9 a.m, I'm going to be dropping off my son from school.
Yeah.
At 3:00, I'm going to be picking him up. Those are like hard stops for me. So if you have any issue with that, I may not be the agent for you.
Yeah.
And outside of that, I have flexibility, but there are certain times when nope, this isn't going to work.
super important to set those boundaries too. I mean, I know that we're usually really flexible, can make almost anything work. But also family does
Yeah.
come first.
And that was a challenge for me. Like when I first had my son, yeah, like I had my son in 2020, so also mid COVID.
Yep.
OG COVID actually.
Yeah.
November of 2020 is when I had my son.
Okay.
And I was already working as an agent at that point. So it's still a newer agent. That's only 2 years in.
Yeah.
So
an adjustment.
yeah, so trying to adjust as a parent and become a father and still be a husband and then still try to build a business, I was failing big time.
Yeah.
Trying to do everything and squeeze everything in and putting too much emphasis on dropping everything to be a good agent.
Unfortunately, there's no trainings on that either. So
Yeah, they need to make that as a 3-hour course, how to balance a family life and still what
probably get a hell of an attendance.
and absolutely. So like that's one of the things that I learned over the years is like being okay with not working around the clock, still making yourself available for clients, but being okay with like, no, this is time for my family.
Yeah.
And just being upfront and honest with you. I never had anyone have an issue with me saying, hey, look, I can't do that showing at 6. I got XYZ with the family, but we can do tomorrow at 9.
Yeah, exactly. Or I mean, even in some cases, I'm sure you've done this before. Working in an office with a bunch of people that you're close with, you could also have other people help out and cover
On that plenty of times.
Yes,
plenty of
something
times.
you can get to.
Yeah, because that's what happens. We got offers due tomorrow at 2.
Yeah.
We got to get in there tonight. I have a conflict. All right, cool. Let me call someone in the agent. Hey, anybody available to show my client something?
Mm-hmm.
So that does happen.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes back to the importance of how it is nice working at a more family brokerage is that everyone's kind of there to cover each other.
Yeah, someone to step up and help.
Yeah, and I can also say the same about premium. Yeah, we are the number one lender in Western New York for the last 2 years, but also it still feels like a small business there. I mean, we know everyone. We've met all of each other's kids. Everyone's always willing to help. So even though we are a bigger company, I mean, we're definitely not as big as these banks and stuff.
Right.
But the closeness of having a smaller feel, it certainly speaks volumes. Yeah. In your opinion, how is technology kind of changing for you as an agent? Is it affecting any part of your process, or is it making anything different for you?
I think it's, as technology goes, it's just a natural evolution.
Yeah.
Every day something new comes out or a new technology is added to the equation. But for me, it's like, do you adapt to it or do you resist it? Because you can only resist change for so long until you're behind the curve.
Well, that's kind of what I've been saying about, the artificial intelligence.
Come on with it. I love it.
Yeah, no, I love it too. And I was honestly a little bit adverse to it at first, just because it was something unusual, but I kind of realized if you don't get with it, you're going to get left behind it. Yeah. And then we start rambling.
Exactly. And AI is still evolving, obviously, where people are saying it's going to replace agents and this and that. AI is not going to replace agents. But what it will do is weed out those who don't know how to utilize it and don't know how to utilize technology in general.
I think that's a really good point that you make, because I've thought that anything that's a desk job, AI can probably replace, which certainly made me a little bit worried. But at the same time, me personally, I don't think I would ever want to have this big of a deal of buying a house handled by something that's not a real person.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't necessarily think that it's going to cut out the job of a loan officer. I just think that it's going to make it a little bit different, as far as what the job function actually is.
Yeah, and sometimes it's about just utilizing what's available to you. Are there things that AI and technology offer that can make you a better lender or make me a better agent?
I would say definitely
100%.
Mm-hmm.
It can streamline a lot of your tasks. It can, someone who deals with a lot of things at once, you can throw something in there and it can just clearly spit it out.
Yep.
Say you had 25 things to do on your to-do list today. Throw them all in there real quick. It'll spit out a whole schedule for you for the day.
It helps me write emails. Yeah, it helps me schedule things. Even putting events together. I mean, it definitely has helped. A ton.
Yeah. For me, I can just write something out from doing a listing description. I can put a listing description in there in my voice, and I can have it just tweak what I say and make it just sound a little bit more polished.
Yeah.
I don't use AI to replace my voice or replace what I do, but I use it to help. Like I say, I think I like to use the word polish.
Yeah.
I put my voice in there and it polishes it up to be used the way I needed to use.
Yeah, definitely. And then as a result, gives you more time to to do the nitty gritty of real estate.
Yeah, so I'm not afraid of that aspect at all. You know, some of the videos and stuff are getting kind of crazy.
That they are.
Yeah, that I'm like, yeah, they gotta.
I know sometimes I gotta do a double take and think, is this real?
Hey, like I was staring, like where's the six fingers at or something like that.
Yep, I always look at the hands, or the biggest
The hands and the spelling of stuff like that's it. But I'm like, I think they got to do something and force a disclaimer when it's AI. Like,
oh, dude, in
no
time we're gonna not be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, cause I'm like, oh, listen, I'm gonna have keywords and everything. If you don't hear this phrase in a video, it wasn't me.
You know, because of that the voice spoofing thing that's going on, I do have keywords with my close family, so they know that it's me.
Yeah, that's smart though.
Yeah, no, it is.
Hey, it's smart, man. It's a lot of listen. Scammers will find a way to scam.
Oh yeah,
so
they always do.
Listen, but I'm not afraid of the AI and technology. I'm all for it.
No, that's good, and I think that'll with not being afraid of it and ready to embrace it, I think that if anything, it's just gonna
because again, especially looking at this industry, you know, we weren't in the business yet, but you know, pre-internet. The internet was the next technology that agents thought was going to replace them, and and texting and emails, like these are all things that weren't here 30 years ago from a real estate standpoint.
You know, a couple 100-page loan applications was the norm. Luckily, I wasn't part of that because it sounded like
it's hearing older agents literally would just go through a phone book and cold call people all day.
Yeah, that's crazy.
For 8 hours a day, like that's how they generated business. Hell no. Like, you couldn't catch me to do that now. Again, I'm hour to them. Yeah, I'm like, listen, the dedication that you're able to do with that, I see why you're still here in the business after all these years, but it couldn't have been me.
No.
Totally couldn't have been me.
So, I guess to kind of go into a more, story or experience, kind of conversation, is there a first-time buyer in particular that kind of stands out in your memory that really made you think, man, this is definitely something that I want to do?
Yeah, I'll say, I'm trying to think, was she one of our mutual clients? No, she wasn't one of ours. There's one client I started working with in 2021.
Okay.
And, average buyer, she did have a bigger family. So she needed a bigger house. So probably something at least 5 bedrooms. So, which is just difficult to find.
Yeah.
So we were looking at single family houses, doubles, so a year goes past, some life stuff happens. So she's out the game for a little bit, and she comes back to me 2024, and we're looking again. The machine is back up, still not finding offers, outbid. The usual, the usual song and dance. And then finally this year, early summer, we finally get her into something.
Okay.
And just going through a journey of 4 years. It's
a long time.
Yeah, it's a very long time. It's not the norm. So anybody who's listening, this is not the norm. It doesn't take anybody 4 years to find it. But again, her determination to not give up throughout. It's how easy it would be to quit. Yeah, after all that time.
That or just to settle for something that you weren't really looking for. And just a power for not doing that.
Right, buying something just for the sake of buying something, but just staying focused on what the goal was. I had to talk her off the ledge a lot.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yep.
But just to stick with it and keep fighting and keep working to find something that matches, like that for me is like everything.
Those ones do feel really good.
I'd have did that one for free. Hell, after all the houses, I probably didn't make any money. It's going to pay to close it. Yeah, after 4 years of showings, I don't think I made any money on that one.
Yeah,
break it down for now.
I mean, it speaks volumes that it doesn't even matter to you, that.
But it's totally worth it.
Yeah,
I would have did that for free just to finally get her to what she needed. Like any ones that like that, I got a one now that this one is a journey. It's Section 8. There's Belmont Grand in there. There's the city of Buffalo Grand.
Okay, so there's some moving parts on that.
There's a whole lot of moving parts. We still got a long way to go, but she, has some mobility issues moving forward, so it has to be first floor living. There's a lot of things that are making the transaction difficult.
Yeah.
But it is going to be so worth it because we actually found what she needs, and it's going to match what her needs are moving forward as well. So like ones like this, like I don't care about getting paid.
Yeah.
I don't care about any of that. Like when you find someone who has a need and that other people aren't willing to put the work in for her, it makes it all worth it.
And there's probably, a handful of people who would want nothing to do with that one. Just
100%
things that are involved.
Yeah, when someone gets a referral like that with all those things, most people are going to be like, no, there's nothing I can do with this. And then that's how people are easily cast aside. And like for me, I'm like, I don't know if I want this house more than her at this point, but I might. I don't know. Like I want this to get done so much,
Yeah.
just because certain people who are just cast aside, like those are the ones I'm like, no, I'm going to make sure we do everything we can to get you to this finish line.
It's about more than the money.
Way more.
That it's so important to be aligned with someone who thinks that way too.
It's impact.
Yeah.
It's legacy. Like for people like me who let life has happened. Like I'm never shy about my journey. Like I've had financial issues. I had to file for bankruptcy. Like there's some stuff that happened. So like when people come to me with financial issues or credit issues, I can say, hey, look, I literally was there.
No judgment.
You talking about, well, my credit's in the 400s. Me too. Like I've been there. So when those people come to me, I want to help them even more and show them like, yo, this is possible. I'm literally an example of what can happen if you work the plan. I always say, put the plan in place and just work the plan.
Yep.
Work the plan. Stick to the plan.
I think that's an awesome way to look at it.
And that's what it boils down to, whether the plan takes 6 months or 3 years. Because again, there's some people got to file bankruptcy. It's going to take some time, take a couple years. Like there's no way around it. Yeah, there's no way around it. But if we have a plan in place, all we got to do is work the plan and stick to it.
Yeah. Real estate, obviously can be stressful from where we sit. How would you say you stay motivated and balanced?
It's figuring out and reminding yourself of what your why is.
Yeah.
It's me. I'm at a point in life where it's not just about me. Like I have a wife, I have a son.
Yep.
At this point, I have a legacy that I want to leave. So this is bigger than just providing for me. One, I'm making an impact for the clients that I work with. Absolutely. But I also want to leave a legacy with my family. I want to set an example for my son that he can look up and say, oh, my dad has done some amazing things. Like he's a great agent. He works with all these people and helps them buy and sell houses. I want to be able to make enough money and make enough impact where I can pass that down to him, and if we have any future children and their children's children. So just looking at whatever your motivation may be. And for me, it's my family, it's my wife, it's my son. It's being an example for my friends, for my siblings, for my parents. Like I want to be able to have anybody attached to me look at me and have a sense of pride.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when I had when my daughter was born, I never really even thought about how much of a motivating factor it would be, and then it all kind of just crashes down on you when you're holding them. You're like, oh my gosh, I got to make sure I'm doing my shit right.
100%. And then the older they get, they just watch everything.
Yep.
Every single thing. And it's not even about what you say. It's about what you do.
Yeah.
And so like I want to show what hard work can do, what determination can do. Because, I had to fight and claw to get to even where I'm at. Like I'm far from the top agent in the area.
Yeah.
But again, I know I'm very good at what I do. And I want my actions and my walk to match that.
Yeah, I would say, with a good note to end on is that I agree with you. Numbers aren't everything. Just because you do the most business doesn't necessarily mean that you're, quote, the best.
Right.
I think motivation is probably the key factor in that.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for
man,
being with me today and this conversation. And
absolutely,
we'll have to do another one.
Yeah, man. The more we do like this, the more our name gets out there, the more people we can help and impact.
Certainly. I know we didn't even get through like half. So
yeah,
we got a ton of stuff for next time.
Perfect.